We printed 700 shirts for them. And they said keep it local on them, but yet the original bid had been sent out to a company in California. So that really bothered me.
You are now listening to the Nick Francis Podcast, Episode 4, produced by Sky Sprout Digital Media.
Hello, everybody. This is Nick Francis, and this is the Nick Francis Podcast. And we are a little bit about a week behind here. Had some work stuff come up. We want to make sure our clients get priority over the fun stuff like the podcast. So focused on the client work, and now we're back in it. Gonna get ahead of it with a couple podcasts this coming week. So we'll be back on schedule. So thank you for your patience. Today we have Zach with us, and I will let Zach do a little introduction and give us a synopsis on what you do.
Yeah. So my primary job in life is I'm the CEO and founder of Traxler Printing. We were established in 2010 in Columbus, Ohio. The quick story behind that was we got, my wife and I, when I say we, she used to be a part of the company. She's now a stay-at-home mom, but we got married on September 18th, 2010, and we filed our LLC September 21st, 2010. So we skipped our honeymoon and jumped right into entrepreneurship. We're now one of the fastest growing, highest rated, and highest referred print shops in the Midwest. And of this was born kind of my knack for serial entrepreneurship. So aside from Traxler Printing, I help run about 7 other companies, mainly apparel brands. We have a CBD company where we fill CBD gummies and other products that are legal in the United States because they're derived from commercial hemp and not THC products. And then I'm also part of GSD Media Group, which is a non-traditional digital marketing agency here in Columbus, Ohio. And then I help other small business owners. That's what I really like to do every day, whether it be through print or hanging out on a podcast and just getting to know other businesses and what they do in Columbus and surrounding areas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a step back and talk about the business versus the honeymoon? Why, and what inspired you guys to kind of get started there?
Well, I was still working a full-time job. I used to work for Manta.com in Polaris, Ohio. I was an analyst there, and what it really came down to was money. We were young. We got married, I think, I was 22 when I got married to my wife. She was 23. So we kind of jumped right into it, and we really wanted to afford ourselves the opportunity later in life to do more luxurious travel or travel to different places. Now that we have kids, that's thrown a wrench in those plans, a little bit longer delay. But, I also kind of recognized that the company that I was at, it wasn't necessarily fulfilling all of my needs as far as professionally. And then, just kind of in general, health-wise, I was stressed a lot, and it was taking a toll on my life and my day-to-day routine. And so I needed to start configuring it out for myself, and that was printing. There was a huge kind of gap in really the whole market. We see all of these local farmers promoting Ohio Proud, locally sourced, sustainable, all of those kind of buzzwords around agriculture. And so I wanted to see if it could be applied to a different industry. And what better industry than printing, which I grew up in, with my father being in the printing industry since the 70s. So, so we did some research. It was kind of by accident though, that we found out that, major ink suppliers, equipment suppliers, apparel suppliers are all based here in Central Ohio or Southwest Ohio. So it made it really easy for us to source pretty much everything to produce everyone's orders from only other Ohio-based businesses and stimulate the Ohio economy while creating jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So we did go on a honeymoon. We went to Washington, D.C., which is one of my favorite cities. And I'm sure one of my wife's favorite cities, after we both got to travel as adults through there instead of on the 8th grade class trip or whatever. So, but yeah, it was a really good time. It was a short and sweet honeymoon. We got to stay in DuPont Circle and then wander around all the different districts. And
cool.
I need to get back because my work is now in the Smithsonian, so I haven't yet seen that. But I did a lot of large print installs for the Smithsonian.
Wow.
a couple of years ago. So
What, like, give some context, like the signage there?
yeah,
or?
so there's in one of the Smithsonian's, there's an exhibit called Object Project, and so it kind of shows the timeline of the evolution of things like the washing machine or the T-shirt or household products in general, like the freezer. Most people don't, or the air conditioner. Most people don't realize that an old school air conditioner in the oldest sense was a block of ice on a windowsill with a fan pointing on it.
Sure.
So they kind of show. The title Object Project shows the object and how it grew through history. And so with that install, they had me screen printing on raw wood that they would then finish, that had like little product descriptors on it, because it lasts a lot longer, as opposed to like putting a little square plaque up and then putting 3M tape on the back of it that looks cheap, feels cheap, and could fall off. And then actually the final project I did are these like 80, I think they were like 86-inch tall pillars, and my print was, I think the print was about 12 or 14 inches wide by, I want to say it was like, I had to do it in pieces because it was so long and the screens were too big, but it was, more than 70-inch tall print that are now the pillars that kind of indicate where you are throughout Object Project exhibit, which is really cool.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you talked about your old job being stressful and so you wanted to do the entrepreneurship route, I think that's super interesting because most people feel that way in the moment. But when they're at a job they hate, their boss is frustrating them, and then they do something that they think that, okay, I'm gonna start a business and then it's gonna be smooth, it's gonna be easy, but it's not. But it's a different kind of stress. So in kind of your own words, how do you feel? Like, you clearly are gonna have a ton of stress or stuff in your day being an entrepreneur that is probably tenfold the amount of projects and amount of stuff on your plate when you're at a job. Why do you feel like that is easier to swallow throughout the day, or you kind of go home and
I think you kind of nailed it on the head when you said it's a different kind of stress. It's one thing to wake up, or at least for me, it's one thing to wake up every morning and go work for someone else versus getting up every morning and working for yourself.
Sure.
And I could talk the entire podcast about this, and we may.
Okay.
But really, working at Manta, I loved my job. When I started there, I was an intern tasked with a very short-term project, and I completed it extremely fast and really well, and then was brought on full-time. And at the time, we were a company of 29 people, and when I left, there was over 100 employees. As I, my classification was an analyst, but I was a hat rack there. And so I was working on everything with every different department, which was really unique and really cool. But when they took an investment and some of the VPs started changing out and the direction of the company started shifting to more product focus and trying to sell the product instead of less on ads and delivering ads, because all the information was free and that was their revenue stream. It was like no more travel once or twice a week or 3 times a month. I was going to DC. I was going to chambers of commerce across Ohio, talking to them and their members about the importance of claiming your business profile. And so I was interacting with people outside of the office just as much as inside of the office. But when I came back from one of my last trips, I got sat down, at my desk with a long-term task that confined me to my cubicle. And that was just like, that was a nail in the coffin for me physically. I still enjoyed the work, but it wasn't, I didn't have the opportunity to, go out and talk to other business owners, figure out what they're passionate about, what drives them day in and day out. And so I wasn't even looking for another job. I wasn't even necessarily looking to start a printing company. It wasn't one morning that I woke up and looked over at my wife and was like, hey, let's start a printing company and quit my job and this, steady pay and health benefits and all of that to go out on a limb. There was just really a need for it. As in our industry, for higher quality, customer focus, because, most people know of Custom Ink or Vistaprint, and it's like really easy to go online and click. And if you're the kind of person that just wants to go online and use a template and click and order and have no personal interaction, and then you get your product and it's completely wrong or screwed up or misprinted or whatever, well, the first issue wasn't the printing company, it was you. You should have gone to a company that has the same expectations for a good result as you do. So if you want a more personal experience And actually, you'll save money by shopping local instead of going to Custom Ink and Vistaprint. We're cheaper than them. We're going to knock it out of the park. I grew up in the industry with my father owning Surf Ohio and Kaplan Graphics from 1978 into the mid 90s. But because he closed his company, I used his old company to do a print run, and it sucked, frankly. And then I went to the next best referred printer, and they couldn't get the job right. And I just burned through like 6 printers just doing like kind of side jobs for friends, just testing out what the the relationship would be by having somebody else fulfill and print the orders versus me opening my own print shop. And it was like the 6th time I was like, clearly this isn't going to work. So I need to do it myself. And so I built a press in my basement of the apartment we were living in. And my first order was with WCB 90.5 FM here in Columbus, Ohio, the oldest NPR station in the United States. Wow. And we printed 700 shirts for them. And they said keep it local on them. But yet the original bid had been sent out to a company in California. So that really bothered me. So my first and foremost goal with that job was just to keep it local, like literally, or listen local, I think they said. So the stress that comes with owning the business now, especially in exponential growth, is quite different. This is a kind of stress that I thrive on. Right. Obviously it can have some health tolls on it. There have been times where I've had to step away from the company for a brief period, whether it be a day or a week, or, not be as hands-on for even a month. And, it just goes with all the different growth and the types of clients that you have and bring on. And then, you could have a great client for 2 years and they pay fine, but then something happens or something changes within the organization and suddenly payments are coming late and the orders are getting submitted wrong and you're scrapping orders. And that just like, at the end of the day, it's like the Facebook philosophy. It's not their problem, it's your problem. If it's a problem that's in front of you and you're aware of it, you don't just pass it off to somebody else. You handle it, or at least you be hands-on in handling it. And so even before I learned that from meeting the folks at Facebook and being a part of the Facebook Small Business Council, it was, it's like anytime somebody calls and praises us, you get that little rush of adrenaline, like it's awesome, versus somebody calling and they're missing a shirt out of their order or something like that. You take kind of everything personally as a business owner, so there's that kind of stress, but it's when there's 50 irons in the fire and we've overbooked our presses 10, 20, 50%, and this happens, or then the Blue Jackets win the playoffs and we've got the hot market contract and we've got to shift 3 days of jobs off to the side or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that's like, give me more of that. That is like my addiction. And it does come with stress, but it's manageable. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's because you have full control to fix the problem, right? Like you don't, when you're in a job, you only have so many levers you can pull at your position. And so somebody else creating stress for you that you can never fix, like that's frustrating. Like other people's negligence causing you to like have to play catch up, like that sort of stuff is super common in positions. But when you're the owner, you can go and fix those, fix what's actually causing the problems. And by fixing those, even if they're, are super, super hard problems to solve, they're very rewarding because you can solve them once and feel like you kind of stopped, you essentially cut it off from continuing to be a problem. So I think those are, especially when you're talking more about like strategic problem solving, like that stuff's fun. So that's super cool. But so we have like 5 or 6 things I've heard that I want to like touch on. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of them because I don't want to just rush, but maybe we'll have you back at another time to get, because I'd love to talk about CBD stuff because that's super interesting right now. So there's just a ton. Let's touch on the Facebook Small Business Council. So we met at 2 months ago at the Small Business Council meeting for the last 5 years, where they brought everybody together from the last 5 small business councils, and we learned a lot, ate some good food, had some fun, and met a lot of cool business owners throughout the country. And then they sat us next to each other, so like we knew we're literally in the same suburb, which is super cool. Right. So what have you learned, or what has been the biggest thing that you've taken away from the SMB Council? And then people ask me what it is, and I have like a definition, but what do you think? Like, what do you feel like it is to you?
I'll start with that. I mean, I feel like the Small Business Council is first and foremost. I mean, it's a really good way for Facebook to show Facebook at large, the users of Facebook, that they are present to the community, especially the small business. I'm sure they've got other people that they talk to outside of the Small Business Council about other niches, but I mean, at least for direct contact and trying to fix and figure out what the next release is and what's going to be most beneficial to the users on Facebook. The Business Council is kind of that sounding board. I think there's like around 70 or 80 total people in the Small Business Council now because it's an ongoing, council position. But I equate it to what's similar to the growth of the number of businesses that are on Facebook. There's 70 million plus businesses on Facebook. So, and just looking at the different types of business owners that are in the Small Business Council, we all represent a different niche of small business owners across the United States. And with 70 million small business owners in the United States, 70 or so Small Business Council members, I feel like that they tied this maybe superficial number of us each representing 1 million business owners on Facebook. And if you look at, the different niches that, everyone's in, just talking to like Hrog, who owns Henry's House of Coffee, which I drink religiously now because it's like crack. And I'm obsessed with coffee. That was one of my first companies when I was a kid, was a coffee roasting company. So,
nice.
So that's where we got along. And then we were actually in a breakout session together. I don't know if you were in that breakout session as well.
I think so.
So obviously we have sort of similar industries, or how we built our businesses were similar in a sense. And so they were able to kind of recognize all of that through whatever means they use to figure out how to match us all.
Yeah.
But I think the diversity of the Small Business Council plus the overall size of the number of businesses on Facebook, I think just that's, the almost 1 to 1 million ratio, plus the diversity of the types of businesses, that we all built our businesses on Facebook and Instagram, and that we all have a community impact.
Yeah.
It was a really just smart move for Facebook to create it and dub it as the Small Business Council. But that's how I look at it. We're the ambassadors to the small business community for Facebook in a nutshell.
Yeah. I think that's perfect explanation. I always view it as it's a sounding board for Facebook to throw, beta features or things they potentially might do. And we're a super small sample size. But I think that's a little bit of it, is that they can then throw some stuff at us and know that we're super active on the platform. And so our opinion probably is worth some good value to them. And then I think being the ambassadors and them knowing that like we have awesome, support from them when we need anything. Right. We say wonderful things about Facebook because it's done wonderful things for our business. I think it just makes sense to have all those people connected. And brainstorming, like having everybody in that group is ridiculously smart. And so in completely different ways, like not everybody in that group was like master ad buyers or mastering Facebook.
Like I just posted in the group, I think yesterday, it's like, I admittedly suck at Facebook advertising. Right. Early on, when it was much more simple, and the ad buys were almost direct, it was really easy for me to do, to spend $10,000 a month on Facebook.
Sure.
I think I spent in the last 6 months, $1,000 on Facebook. Oh, wow. I mean, a lot of our traffic's organic, which is great. But at this point, if we're really going to tip the scale and grow the business at Traxler Printing in 2018 or the second half of 2018, I've got 4 or 5 meetings and phone calls lined up with other Facebook Small Business Council members in different niches and different, service industries to figure out, what we can do on our retail side versus our wholesale side, what we can do for B2C or B2B, which B2B proves to be extremely difficult on the world's largest advertising platform, which I find super interesting. So that's really what I'm going to be spending my next 10 G's on, and figuring out like how to most effectively make that worthwhile. Because a lot of the people doing those ad spends that are $10, $50, $100,000 a month, they're selling a product that's going to an end consumer. That's not, that's less than 10% of my company's revenue a year. So
you're all B2B.
Right.
So your challenge right now that you're solving is to sell is just the B2B on Facebook.
Yeah.
Which is everybody feel like has a very big misconception that it's like harder. And I think if like companies that have enough experience kind of doing that, they'll understand that it can be easier, because all you have to do instead of hitting, millions and millions of people is hitting thousands of people.
It's weird. Teeter-totter of information and the ability to target and get down to those people. We found last year when trying to target business owners, a lot of unemployed people put business owner as their primary job position once they lose their job. So we're like targeting some dude in his underwear that's on Indeed.com and not the actual decision maker at like John Deere or something. So, yeah.
I mean, there's even, different things that we do to get around that, because I don't have a good example, but we had a couple other clients where setting their position at a certain company, we found out that everybody that was under 18 decided they wanted to say they were employed there. Like every other person on Facebook that doesn't have a job and that's like 16 years old says they're employed by the Krusty Krab. Like so it's there's some layering you have to do on that, but understanding that the vast majority it's pretty incredible targeting abilities on there. And so if you can pair that with the right creative,
right,
that's when you find the results. Now, what is the right creative? Well, it's clearly everybody's BS detectors as a small business owner are a heck of a lot higher, and they're getting targeted with a heck of a lot more B2B stuff. And so you just got to get even more creative than with the B2C stuff, which is normally like some discount codes, and that does the job. Small business owners, they're not going to drop everything they're doing because you're going to offer 10% off this week. Like, they just don't have the time. So it's tricky. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And if I can do anything to help, let me know, because that's super.
Oh, I'll definitely be calling you, Nick. So.
Yeah, because that's B2B's fun. I love it on Facebook.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got a call with Sven this afternoon from Jelly Skateboards. So
nice.
We'll see how that goes and go from there. So
sweet.
Yeah.
So what else was I going to say? So talk about I don't know if you want to pick one of your other entities that you're a part of.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are super high level, not a lot of involvement.
Okay.
Most of them, like I said, are apparel brands or being a part of other brands, and I'm a minority owner. And basically that was consulting for equity. So thinking out of the box, I saw great potential in 8-bit apparel. One of the owners at the time was literally just spending the money on bots and like taking 100% of revenue or 90% of revenue and just turning it into superficial likes and web traffic. And I mean, you've got a sign in your lobby that says likes don't pay the bills.
Right.
It's the sales that pay the bills, closing the sale that pays the bills. And so I met with the other owner of 8-bit apparel off and on for about 6 months. And, he's passionate about it and 8-bit art, and they have the federal trademark. And, so we kind of tapped the brakes or helped him tap the brakes on just the whole company and stepping back and taking a look at what it really needed to survive. And unfortunately that was, removing one of the owners and then making it a sole ownership, and then kind of reevaluating the scope of products and how it was being presented online, where it was being presented online, where it was being sold, how much stuff was being sold, and the partnerships that they had with NFLPA. So just basically stripping the company back down to the tiniest little box, which was 8-bit, and then building back off of that. And now it's doing great. Unfortunately, a lot of the stores that the apparel is carried in, they just started closing. So we're going to have to take another look at the company, and we'll probably move 8-bit into a pure POD type of company. So print on demand. So at Traxler Printing, we've got a Shopify plugin that goes into the back end of your Shopify store. You upload the artwork, it automatically creates a mock-up in the product for you on your website. And then anytime somebody orders, comes into our facility, and within 48 hours to 4 days, we print and ship the order with zero inventory risk for the customer. So the other thing that we did with 8-bit apparel was we own the federal trademark on 8-bit, the word. So you can't use the words 8-bit to promote your product if you're selling apparel because we have the trademark. So we've served tons of cease and desists out to everyone from Nike to little guys to big guys. And
holy cow.
So that when you're trying to find a Snapchat ghost that's 8-bit artwork. You have to search for pixel art because it's likely that our attorneys have served whoever's trying to sell that piece of apparel using our trademark name, 8-bit apparel, that they've had to stop using it. And the goal with that wasn't actually to stop people, it was to collect royalties. So that's,
Right.
that's how we've kind of positioned that company as a royalty collect, as well as, just creating badass 8-bit shirts that we think are cool, like Tecmo Bowl and Player 1, Player 2, like matching stuff for brothers and sisters or boyfriends and girlfriends that enjoy gaming. Aside from that, I mean, there's a handful of other kind of
That's super cool.
not as cool and as cool brands that I'm a part of, just from a consulting standpoint. And it's a month. And a month, I probably spend an hour or two with those companies.
Okay.
So it's a very, very small stake in each company. And then Traxler Printing, obviously, because of that relationship, does all of the printing. So the more successful they are, the more successful the printing company is. I've got an identical twin brother who's a small business owner, actually. He moved his facility, Griffin Hollis Studios, into our building, or our same complex, in January. But he's a master craftsman of wood. He's got lasers. He makes cool awards and stuff, like your awesome shiplap wall. They do those kind of installs for events and then in people's offices. But we both started a company called Traxler Brothers & Co., which kind of follows back our lineage of family entrepreneurship and artisans and artists. But Traxler Brothers & Co. is actually a men's grooming product company. So we sell beard oil, and we're slowly adding other products, but it's a 1-for-1 company. So we called local homeless shelters and found out what men and women and children needed in local homeless shelters, and it was less food and clothes and more things that were easily transportable for self-care and hygiene. So beard oil, which is actually hair oil, so men and women can use it. We've got 4 different scents of that. So when you go to TraxlerBrothersandCo.com or TraxlerBrothers.com and you purchase a bottle of beard oil, we'll then match that with a donation to a local homeless shelter.
Awesome.
And then we're working with other vendors and getting like shampoo bars, because that's more easily transportable by someone who's homeless. They can fit it in their pack or whatever they're carrying, and it won't explode like regular shampoo. And it's, less cumbersome, and it lasts 3 times as long. And then we also, of course, have apparel on that site, because I own an apparel printing company.
Sure.
And we do donate, apparel to homeless shelters as well.
That's awesome.
Through that. So, I'm sure you want to know about the CBD company. So I was trying to kind of like skate through those. But I mean, CBD, it's a huge growing industry right now. It's been legal in the United States for quite some time. Most people just aren't aware of it or know of it, because banks don't want to handle the money still, even though the feds passed the law that commercialized hemp.
Really?
So that was passed by, I believe, a Kentucky congressman or senator. I should probably brush up on the actual history of it a little bit more. But yeah, so it's 100% legal to buy and sell in the U.S. as long as it's not derived from marijuana or THC carrying marijuana. So it's it comes from commercialized hemp. A lot of it's imported. The isolates are imported from the UK, but it's not as great as quality. There's a lot of farms in the United States that have started growing commercial hemp and processing it, like in Arizona, and they're using 100% of the plant, which is really cool. They're doing the extraction, and then they're using the fibers to make cotton or hemp cotton and clothes, which are much more durable than regular cotton, much more sustainable than regular cotton. So I'm really excited to see where the entire hemp industry goes. But as far as CBD, all of these companies make different claims. None of it's been tested by the FDA, but my personal use of CBD, it's helped with nausea, anxiety. After having like a super rigorous workout at the gym, using some tincture helps with the lactic acid breakdown in your muscles, or soreness and stiffness, that kind of stuff. There are claims to benefits for cancer, but none of it, again, has been proven. So, but at the end of the day, it's a quick turn product. Really easy, white label drop ship. You can white label drop ship from 3 or 4 facilities in the United States, really good margins on it. And then if you've got reoccurring billing or subscription set up, the rebill volume on CBD products is like 80%. So very low turnover. And I mean, you can, depending on where you're buying your CBD and hemp, you can see, a margin of 50 to 200%, depending on how you mark up the product.
That's why it's $90 a vial.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just being frank though. I mean, the real cost in that is, half that depending again where it's coming from. So
crazy.
a lot of the products taste like garbage though. So
Yeah,
it's really finding a good one. Like our gummies, like people, like we've gotten emails and phone calls about our gummies. Like people like will eat one gummy and then suddenly the bottle of 30 is gone and they're reordering the next day. And like, it can't hurt you,
Right.
but it's like, don't eat them like candy because they're not, they're expensive. Yeah, you're definitely going to be on a different level if you eat 30 milligram gummies of CBD. So
Yeah. I've done the little, just the dropper.
yeah,
Like
tincture.
under my tongue at night is pretty much
totally helps. Yeah.
An hour or so before bed. I needed like the super strong one, like I don't know, it was I don't remember. I think it's 100 milligrams in the whole bottle.
Probably 1,000 milligrams. Each dose was 100 milligrams. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was wonderful. Like that was better than a melatonin or a tryptophan before bed. Woke up not feeling groggy at all. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it's a super clean experience, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So.
And then the muscle like creams and stuff, those are unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was so good. They're unbelievably expensive, like for a muscle cream or something like that. But
we should check out MidwestMiracleProducts.com. We don't jack up prices on everything. It's pretty close to wholesale on that stuff. So
yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah,
because that needs they need to come out with cheaper versions because they can. So that would be cool to see what your pricing is. But that's
and I think the reason why that industry is pushing the price to the ceiling right now is it comes back to the banks and credit card processors.
Sure.
I think right now in that space, there's one credit card processor, and to be approved by that credit card processor, you have to set up an EU Corp in Northern Ireland, and you have to go through months and months of paperwork.
Holy cow.
You have to also be able to prove sales when you don't even have sales, because you don't have any credit card processing or banking. So there's a lot of finagling going on, but like in order to keep our rate, our credit card fees through Traxler Printing, we're at like 1.5 points, but through the CBD product, we're at like over 10 points. And then they hold your money for 10 days. And then there's a 10% hold on top of that for 100 days in case of chargebacks because it's a high chargeback product. So, and again, that comes back to the claims that are made by other CBD companies. So there's a lot that goes into, it took me 1 day to brand and build the site and put the product online. Yeah. It took me 2 months to get credit card processing approved.
What were you doing in the meantime? Nothing? Or did you have
literally nothing. I mean, the crap load of paperwork that went along with it. But other than that, it was just like, hurry up and wait. So
wow,
yeah,
that's super interesting. That whole industry. It's not on Amazon. Like you can't find it on Amazon. And I've been like, wow, that'd be a really cool industry to like get into. And like my chiropractor is doing the same thing, like a white labeled product, and it's wonderful. And
I'm actually meeting my chiropractor next week about it. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
but I think it's super cool industry, and it's a shame that it's being like looked at that in that way because it's I don't know, like it's so different from THC and marijuana. It's like completely on the opposite end of the spectrum, and it's got so many benefits.
Right.
But I want to you're on a tight schedule today, so I want to probably just have you back and get a lot of the other stuff. But let's dive a little bit into the Shopify plugin because I'm a super nerd and I understand that Printful has pretty much held that whole industry. Like that's been what you use when you want to do print on demand, start your own store on Shopify. Shopify is a complete beast right now. They're killing it in e-commerce. It's amazing.
Yep.
So easy to set up. And then you can get into the more expensive, like the Shopify Plus stuff if you want to get really crazy with it and have the support. But just tell us a little bit about more about it, because I don't think people understand that you literally can set something up on Shopify, have the best e-commerce platform available to you, and then use your printing services. And this isn't a sales pitch. This is just you guys made an incredibly smart business move, scoping out Shopify as the e-commerce place to go, and then spending, which I would assume is an absurd amount of money developing the plugin. So talk about it.
Yeah. So we actually used to build websites. I do web development and e-commerce development as well. I'm a Shopify developer. So we used to build everything on WordPress with WooCommerce until there was a 0-day exploit a few years ago, and one of our customers didn't update a plugin on her site, and it took down all of the sites on our server. So we immediately migrated everybody that wanted to continue selling online over to Shopify, and it's been great ever since. I think we had like in Ohio, we had an hour of downtime in the last 5 years on Shopify.
Jeez.
And that was just that DDoS attack that was a couple years ago.
Wow.
And so not even the whole world, was affected. It was just like the sliver of the United States. From the plugin standpoint, so essentially you have, your Shopify site that you build, which is really easy. And I'm a Shopify developer. I'm not sure if you are, or you have that access to their accounts, but the difference between being a developer account and just going up and signing for Shopify is you get a 14-day trial if you sign up for Shopify. If you contact me, I set up you what's called a dev store, and then you have unlimited time to develop your store.
That's awesome.
So you don't have any upfront billing or anything like that. And then after that, we recommend that you move to the $80 a month plan because it's got abandoned cart recovery and a lot of the basic cool features with reporting and whatnot. But so you have, your Shopify store here, which is my iPhone, in one hand. And those of you that are listening and you can't see, just picture this in your head. So you've got the Shopify site, and then you've got this really big plugin that's really easy to install. It's one click. It ties right into the back end of your store. And traditionally, when you wanted to create an apparel product on Shopify, you'd have to create the product, name the product, give it a description, add all of the variants, upload mock-ups or model shots and all of that, and then publish the product and hope you did it right. With our app, you essentially go into the app, you upload a PNG of your artwork to the size you want to print it on the shirt or whatever other product you want through our service, which we do notebooks, we do Yeti tumblers or similar can coolers.
Cool.
And I'll get into that. But you essentially just upload the artwork, you place it on the product front or back or wherever the other print placements are available, and give it a title, and then fill out. It auto generates a description for the product you're printing on, so you don't have to put any size information in or blend or composition or anything like that of the product, but you just have to give the actual product a description, like the design or whatever. And then hit publish, and then it creates all of the mock-ups automatically for you. It auto publishes the product. The only thing that you have to go in and do is assign it a category and a different vendor if you want to, or add a couple product tags, and then make it available on the additional sales channels that you install in your store. So by default, it publishes to your store sales channel only. But if you want to publish it to Facebook or the other sales channels available, you just have to go in and check those boxes. So you can launch a product off your phone or your laptop in less than 5 minutes. So it's super easy. Incredible. You mentioned Printful, which is the world's largest POD or print on demand fulfillment company. They are massive. Hundreds of millions of dollars, I think at this point. They're in Europe and the United States. They have multiple warehouses and printing facilities in the United States, a couple over in the UK now. But their focus is apparel, sublimated products, which were really popular and probably less popular now. So the all over printed t-shirts that you see, you don't see them as much. They're a high price point item, but they do pillows, bags, mugs, hats, apparel, iPhone cases, wall prints. We haven't added all of the product yet because we're exiting the beta of the app right now and going to the first iteration of the alpha and releasing a new design studio at the same time in that app. But we're actually working with another local company now. So we spent $50,000+ trying to develop our own and just continually broke it.
Holy cow.
So then we met with F13 Works in Columbus and Chris, who comes from the same industry and understands the struggles that we all go through with this kind of app service. And he did a really good job of getting the first iteration launched and white labeled. And now we're moving on to V2. But where we notice, like Printful, yes, you've got bags, and we want to be able to offer the dye sub stuff and the beach towels and stuff inevitably. But where we want to enter the market is where no one else is. And that's the ability to print on, beer can pint glasses or more unique items. So Moleskin notebooks are offered through our POD app now. Nobody else offers those.
That's awesome.
The insulated can coolers, like a Yeti can cooler, we're not allowed to call it a Yeti can cooler, but the insulated can coolers, we get, 22 different powder coated colors, and we'll be adding those to the POD app in the next couple of weeks. And we just got all of the machinery to support all of this stuff and an additional 4,000 square feet in our facility to expand all of this as we grow. So right now, this whole thing is managed by a team of 4. They're all extremely busy. But we're just going to continue to build on it. essentially like Legos. Like the more the volume ticks up, the more clients we bring on, we'll quantify buying the next machine and just kind of daisy chaining them on in production and staying as lean as possible to keep our margins low, because we're 10% less in cost than all of the other POD apps. But continue to focus on high quality. Essentially everything that leaves my facility, I want you to be able to walk into Nordstrom and hold it up to the exact same product and not be able to know whether it was printed by a Nordstrom printer or if it came from Traxler Printing.
Sure. And so this whole Shopify business is essentially a silo in the company, like it's its own team for that.
Yeah. Wow. So we actually brought in, we hired a girl named Carlin from San Francisco, actually, oddly enough, right when I got back from Facebook. She was the production manager at buymebrunch.com, which is a super popular retail site.
Cool.
And now she's our e-com manager and she handles all of it. So right now she's constantly adding products and updating and working with the developers, updating the app, working with customers, onboarding them, because it's not a public app yet. So we're still in the private app space. So if you need it, you can request it. Just send me an email at zachary@traxlerprinting.com, and then I'll figure out the link to send you to get it installed in your store. But it's live, but it's not, like I said, a public app yet. And we're doing that on purpose. We don't want to open the floodgates and not be ready for it. So
yeah, I don't think everybody understands like the scale of like what that means. Like that's a humongous.
Yeah. It's one thing to add 100 stores that maybe do 1 sale a day or 2 sales a day, but then what happens if 1 or 2 of those stores sell a shirt to LeBron James and then he wears it at, the next Columbus Blue Jackets game, and then it's like the most popular shirt out there, and then suddenly we have 1 or 2 machines running, and then we need 10. So we've got to be kind of present to what's going on with our customers, and we work individually with them right now, as opposed to 6 months out. I mean, anybody will be able to install this app.
How many other fulfillment plugins are there right now on Shopify? Just a handful?
I think there's like 8 now, 8 or 9. So they're not easy to find because clearly whoever wrote the product description for the app just didn't know what exactly to target. But and there's a lot of them that do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So oftentimes I'll log into the back end of a customer store just to kind of do a light audit of what they've got going on and notice that they're using Printful and this app and this company and this. And so what we try to do is tailor our services right now to customers that have, very diverse needs. So somebody that's printing on a canvas versus somebody that's printing on a mug. And we try to position ourselves to offer all of that while being able to scale and grow all of it. So it's quite a juggling act right now, but it should be very exciting. We were hoped to really be public with this about 2 months ago, but again, we're just really making sure that we've got everything buttoned up and that we don't do a disservice to our customer base by not being able to crank out their orders in a timely manner, like the Printful. I'll be fully transparent. Come holiday season, our e-commerce site was sending all of the orders to Printful.
Sure.
But then we saw the highest rate of return on retail ever because of manufacturing defects, misprints, untimely shipments. They guarantee 7 business days. They were coming to the customer after 14 days. So a lot of people were getting stuff after Christmas or, after it was promised. So we just gave up on Printful, and that's when we went all in on our own. So
yeah. And I want to make this clear. I mean, this isn't like a sales pitch for people to sign up or whatever, because it's not even live yet. But I think for me, I'm just impressed that you guys had that big of a financial investment into purely a single e-commerce platform. Investing in a team of 4, like looking that far forward is like super impressive to me, and definitely
team of 4. Multiple machines. I mean, all in, even if we didn't pay for the version of the app that we have now and we are, licensing it. I mean, I could definitively say that I've spent over $250,000 trying to get to the point where we are today over the last 2-3 years of just testing and figuring it out. But it's because $250,000 is a drop in the hat compared to where we want to be in 2 years. So we hope that this is going to be the largest driver of success for the future of Traxler Printing, mainly in job creation is what we want.
Yeah.
But every machine that we add, we have to add 1 to 2 new staff. And so if you think about where we're headed, we'd like, really to have at least 20 to 40 more employees by 2020, which is a very short goal. So maybe 2022, but that's the goal, is to really get to a position where we are busting at the seams in our current location and having to look to build to suit our next location. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Definitely impressed by that move because I don't know, I was blown away. I'm like, that was so smart.
Yeah,
And then I
you.
just thought about the investment. I'm like, holy cow, that's smart. But it was also like took some guts to pull it off. So
well, it's I'm not risk adverse by any means.
Sure.
So I like to be a ruthless, as my brother would say, a ruthless optimist. So
there you go.
Yeah,
that's a cool phrase. All right.
Yeah.
Tell people we're running out of time, so tell people that camera there where they can find you, some of your business stuff. I know I mentioned it, but give us a little outro, a shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. I mean, 99% of what I do is at traxlerprinting.com. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Traxler Printing. Our retail brand is Traxler Tees. So again, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Traxler Tees. And all of the other companies mentioned, you can find either on our website or by following us on those social channels. But 8-Bit Apparel, Midwest Miracle Products, Traxler Brothers, all great companies to support. Everything that we do is a socially conscious for-profit. So we're typically giving back a percentage of all profits or doing a lot of fundraising for our community and other organizations that need it. So
sweet.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I think we're going to have you back because I could feel like I could talk about this stuff for hours. So
yeah, I could totally kick my legs up on this table for a couple hours and
That's right.
just chat it up. So
cool. Well,
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.